Hello, Internet! Welcome to Games That Time Forgot. It's October here. And this time around, we're looking at X-Men, the official game, put out in 2006 by Activision and Marvel Comics. To really quick run you through the plot, this is a bridge game between X2 and X-Men The Last Stand, which, thanks to the retcon done in Days of Future Past, no longer exists, so really it's a bridge between X2 and nothing. And the world's a better place for that fact. But, okay, right, plot. Still reeling from the loss of Jean Grey at the end of X2, the X-Men have to go back to Alkali Lake to find out what the heck is going on there because they're showing a lot of activity on Cerebro and they have to fix that, yada yada yada. They get there and they find out that the Sentinel program is fully underway and they have to find out how to stop it. In order to do that, they have to go track down Hydra. For some reason, they're involved in this, but only in name. So they have to go and stop the Sentinel program, stop Hydra, and save the world. Also, they throw in Magneto because Magneto is kind of like the Joker of the Marvel Universe when it comes to the X-Men, and he has to be in it no matter what. So that's fun. Before we get into gameplay, I should mention the presentation, which is this. The cutscenes are done in the motion comic format, which in this is not done to the best of their abilities. They would have been better off using the in-game engine to animate the cutscenes. That way it would have felt more natural and free-flowing. Since we've established that Patrick Stewart is Professor Xavier and is the giant floating head that the X-Men can see, you could just throw in a giant head. I mean, we know they have the animation for MODOK. It's just a matter of taking off the arms and the legs. But instead, we're treated to the motion comics, which reminds me of someone cutting out their pictures from a comic book, taping them to a popsicle stick, and then producing a show for you. That being said, the voice acting was pretty clutch. It's the actors reprising their roles from the films, and for the most part, they do pretty well for switching to voice acting. So there is that. Special standout is probably Alan Cumming as, of course, Nightcrawler, one of my favorite characters, so admittedly there is some bias there. But it's just a lot of fun to hear him and interact with one of my favorite characters, so sue me. There you are. And the graphics themselves are standard 2006 fare. Nothing really to set the world on fire about, either out of excitement or depression. Okay, moving on. Gameplay. Let's have fun with this. You have a choice of 3 characters, so let's go through them individually. With this being a 3D brawler, you have Wolverine, who's pretty much the tank of the group, and his superpower to heal fast. Everybody ended up getting that superpower, apparently. So there's not really all that much that you can say that's just purely his. You're next introduced to Iceman, Bobby Drake, the flying character for the game. Okay. Not to harp on an issue, but since I brought it up at the beginning of Games That Time Forgot in Jason and the Argonauts, I feel like I should bring it up now. There's no reason for Iceman to be in this game, because in the established universe they have created in the films, they have plenty of flyers. They got plenty of people who can fly, even with the loss of Jean Grey. You have Rogue, and you have Storm. And Storm is already in the game. She's a support character for Wolverine and for Nightcrawler, who we'll touch on in a second. She's there, she's flying around, she's shooting off lightning. There's no reason for you to have to be stuck on this stupid ice board playing the absentee Silver Surfer. And the constraints placed on you during these levels, they're not really like, okay, I just have to learn to think differently in order to play this character. It just feels like it's frustrating and rage-inducing for the sake of not putting in the work into coding it properly. There's a couple of moments where you are timed and still looking for collectibles, and if you're like me, you're going to go looking for the collectibles. But there's no point to it because Iceman can't hover, Iceman can't stop. He has to keep moving. You can slow down, which is good because at some point you're going to have to aim the ice beam or the hailstorm shooting ice rocks out of your hand thing. And you can do a U-turn, but that's about it. Go up too high, you suddenly have to stop. Go down too low, and hey, look, you've been knocked off the ice board. It felt really like they had the flight mechanics set in place for a biplane, and they just decided, okay, we'll go with that. Another thing, he leaves the trail of ice behind him because he's Iceman, but you can run into that if it doesn't disappear fast enough or you haven't gone far enough. It's frustrating, and again, having just a flying character, which is in the universe, would work. Screw it, I don't want to talk about Iceman anymore. Let's just move on to Nightcrawler now. Okay, here's the thing about the Nightcrawler levels. He's insanely OP. Like, even if you don't upgrade him that much, he is insanely overpowered. He bamfs around the entire screen, punching people in the back of the head, kicking people in the back of the head, and it's just great. He was the easiest to find the collectibles with. He was the easiest to get through the levels. Anyway, I guess this is really Nightcrawler's game anyway, because it tries to explain why he's not in the third movie. But again, the third movie doesn't exist anymore in their continuity, so screw it. One last note, the collectibles. You have technology about the Sentinels, like their files, and it's represented by a computer board thing. Kind of looks like a motherboard. Anyway, moving on. And Weapon X files. And you're thinking, okay, cool. This will expand my knowledge about these characters. This will expand my knowledge about the Sentinels. This might at least have a freaking comic book that I can hit X to scroll through or something. Anything? Nope. If you collect them all, you can get danger room levels or different outfits. Man, that's underwhelming. That is so underwhelming. It's just there. Anyway, the game is weak sauce. It's not worth your time, even from a storytelling standpoint. I can't really hate on the motion comic aspect of it too much, because in 2006 it was still kind of new and daring, and I don't mind it when people try something new, but it was so poorly executed that, screw it, not worth it. So, this is one of those you should avoid. And that's it for Games That Time Forgot. As always, I am October. I'd like to thank Dash for giving me this game, and I will gladly give it back to you. And I don't want to see it ever again. This is our last video for the year, actually. So, a very happy new year to you all, unless you're watching this later, in which case I hope you're having a good year regardless. I am October. I still don't have a catchphrase. Later, people of Earth.